Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is Hitman 3, a game developed by IO Interactive, and it is using their in-house technology called the Glacier engine. So IO Interactive have been always the developers of the Hitman. They were the main creators of the Hitman series and all the games were developed by these guys, and this is their kind of child game. They always did develop the Hitmans, and the Hitmans were always their way to go game to develop. They had other titles before, like Freedom Fighters, which I think it was released in 2003, which I did love, but the main focus of IO Interactive, it was always Hitman, and they also do a great job in doing this type of game. Alright, so the focus today it is Hitman 3 and to check how it performs on the GTX 1650 Super, and I have great news for you. This is very well optimized, guys, and the visuals are simply amazing. So let's start with the graphical settings. So my recommendation for playing this game it is for you to play at high settings at 1080p if you want to achieve 60 frames per second most of the time. Or you can go with Ultra, because there isn't too much of a difference between visuals and performance between high and Ultra. And if you want absolute 60 frames per second, you can go with Medium. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. This is the requirements for the game. And I need to focus a little bit in the GPU requirements. So they do recommend the GTX 1070. The 1650 Super, it is more or less equivalent to the 1060, so we are just a little bit below the recommended, which makes sense because there are a couple of selected moments where the game does drop below 60 frames per second at the high settings. So let's take a look at the results. So my benchmark, it was on this Germany map. I started to benchmark since you enter in the map until you reach the dance floor, and you will see this inside the video. Of course, I always took the same path, but unfortunately, not all the benchmarks have gone the same way because I was spotted by a different guy or, you know, all the things go. But anyway, I used the same path always. So at ultra settings and high settings, I experienced some small drops below 60 frames per second, while medium settings was fine above 60. So those drops were at the beginning of the level because there was too much depth of field, and there was those volumetric effects from the car. And the rest of the level, it was silky smooth above 60 frames per second with no issues whatsoever. If you go with 1440p, whatever if you go with high or medium settings, your experience will be above 30 frames per second. Although at maximum settings, the game did struggle a little bit to sustain 30 frames per second on those beginning moments. And well, I would say that if you go with 1440p, just go with high or medium. Depends on the frame rate that you want to achieve. 4K, well, I can't really recommend you to play at 4K, because at medium settings, for example, you still get some massive drops below 30 frames per second. All I want to say about this is that I decided to benchmark Germany because of these starting moments. There are some selected moments where the game it is more demanding, and one of those moments it is just this starting moment in Germany and the forest moment where the game it is more demanding than the usual. And also on Mendoza level at the start there is some big overviewing of the map, which have a great distance. So at that moment the game also drops below 60 frames per second. Santiago did recommend you to drop the level of details on that specific moment if you want to achieve 60 frames per second. But I don't think it is necessary because, like I did told you, for me it was only this beginning moment and also the beginning moment in Mendoza. All the rest of the levels it was performing above 60 with no issues whatsoever if you go with high or ultra settings at 1080p. Digital Foundry also tested the consoles, and it seems that, for example, the Xbox One X, Series X, had some issues with performance in Mendoza, but inside the grass and the flowers. I did test specifically that part by myself, and I didn't notice any performance issue on that moment on this GPU. So I don't think that there is much more moments that are as demanding as the start of Mendoza or as the start as Germany. So now that you know the performance that you can expect from Hitman 3, let's talk a little bit about the game, shall we? Well, so Hitman 3. This is the conclusion of this new series, which is called The World of Assassination. IO Interactive decided to remake the Hitman series, and the first Hitman remake it was released in 2006. Then they did release the Hitman 2, and now we have finally the ending of the trilogy, which is Hitman 3. So the main difference in this game, it is a little bit the graphics, alright, so they decided to include a different lighting system to this game and also screen space reflections. So this means that if you start the Hitman 3, you can also play the other levels, and the other levels will benefit from these improvements, so which means that if you are going to play another level from Hitman 1 inside the Hitman 3, you will get screen space reflections and a different lighting system. So the only thing that I don't consider great about that is that at some points the lighting really gets different, and the levels that you did play before might not look exactly the same because of that lighting difference. For most levels, the difference is just way too small for you to notice, but I do recommend you to check the Digital Foundry video. There are some levels there that really changes a little bit too much to my taste, and some people might not be satisfied with that change. But many other levels get so much better because of the addition of screen space reflections, alright? So that's pretty much that. As for the level design, Hitman 3, according to critics, have the best levels. And honestly, I think I have to agree. This Germany map completely resembles the Hitman Contract's second level. It was seriously amazing, and it's a punch on my memories because it really reminds me of those levels, and it's really great. The other levels are great too. I think they really got 200% into the details of every stuff, and the puzzles inside these games are really interesting. So I guess Hitman 3 might be the best game of the entire trilogy of the World of Assassination. So it's a great game. Now the downside is that apart from that and some new addition, which is the shortcuts, which I will explain, there isn't too much of new stuff, you know. It's more of the same. Gameplay, they didn't really change it that much, but like I did told you, the shortcuts, it is a new thing, and it's a nice thing if you like to replay the levels, which I do hope you do that, because previously, on the other Hitmans, every time you wanted to perform a different challenge, a different type of assassination, you needed to replay the level exactly, or more or less the same way, traverse through the same paths. Now Hitman Hitman 3 shortcuts really solves that problem, because after you finish the first level and if you unlock the shortcuts, what really happens is the second time you are going to play that level, instead of you going all the way around doing the same path, you can use your shortcuts to get more closer to the objective. So it's a little bit like Dark Souls, alright? Dark Souls, when you start the game, for you to kill the first boss, you need to go all the way around through multiple places to reach the boss. But after you kill the boss, you unlock a door that gets you back to the beginning just in like 10 seconds. So the next time you want to go to the same place, instead of going all the way around taking like 1 hour, you go through that door that you unlocked. So it's the same thing in here in Hitman. You unlock a shortcut, and instead of going all the way around like 20 minutes trying to evade the guys and the enemies and the suspicions, you just can get a shortcut that gets you more closer to your objective. So I think that's awesome for people that wants to replay the levels, and like I did told you, I do hope so, because Hitman, it is the type of game that if you are only going to complete the level one single time, it's a waste of money, because the game costs around 60 bucks at the moment and contains 6 maps. And honestly, this game, if you know what to do, you can complete the levels really quick and you can get to the ending of the game really quick. So it's kind of a wasted 60 bucks. Although, if you want to replay the levels multiple times, getting to your perfect kill, or just trying to beat the challenges that are suggested by the IO Interactive, that can get you a ton of hours of gameplay in here. And I think the magic and the way that Hitman it is built, it is for you to repeat the level multiple times. But if you are a guy that you are just more or less like me, that you just complete the level the best way that you can, and you don't want to see that again, and you want to move on to the next level, then $60 might be a little bit too much for a game like this. But it's your choice. Whatever the choice, Hitman 3 contains the best maps of the trilogy in my opinion, and I think I'm not alone in thinking that. And whatever the game it is small or whatever, if you don't think that it is worth the money, these guys have gone 300%. I know that I said 200% before, but I will still now 300% in small details inside these levels. It is really well done, and I think it's worth the money if you are really a fan of Hitman and if you like to repeat the levels. If you don't, I would recommend you to wait for the sale. Alright guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Hitman 3. Hope you can enjoy the rest of the gameplay, which is not much, honestly. And I do hope to see you soon. And above all, guys, stay safe, so just game. Because if you are going to stay at home at gaming, I'm pretty sure you are not going to get the virus. So just game. Game on, guys. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.